You're listening to episode 5 of Eric Stacy's See in Red podcast. This is episode 5, and I want to say hey to all my listeners. I want to say thank you for supporting the show. Even though a certain company or site, whatever you want to call it, that's carrying this show is trying to downplay how many listens the show gets because they're also another liberal left-wing tool. The listenership is much, much higher than a certain site is putting it at. So don't believe that for a second. The show's doing real well, and I want to thank everybody for getting behind it. I've been reading your comments, and I appreciate it. With that said, I had a whole bunch of stuff I wanted to start talking about how the Democratic Socialists have taken control of the Democratic Party and all that stuff, and we'll hopefully get to that in this 15-minute show. But I want to begin with a usual happenstance lately. I went online on Facebook the other day because I think you've all been reading the news and seen how Ilhan Omar, her family came here illegally. They changed their last name, came here illegally. They left. She left Mogadishu, Somalia, was in a refugee camp in Kenya, and then her family was able to relocate into Minnesota using false last names. That's point A. So she basically emigrated to America illegally. Point B, she did, in fact, marry her brother. Some people say she didn't. Some people say she did. I've seen the marriage certificate. She absolutely was married to her brother while she was married to another man, might I add. And she did that supposedly. It wasn't so she could get in, as people say. It was so that she could get her brother in. So she married her brother illegally while she was married to another man. That's not only incestuous, but it's bigamy, which is also illegal in the state of Minnesota. And obviously, if you read the news, you probably read that it also turns out that she filed up to 8 years of fraudulent tax returns. So here's a woman that's who's breaking the law left and right, who is committing felonies, and the last thing I read, she was fined a whole $500 as far as the illegal tax returns, the fraudulent tax returns that she put in for 8 years. She was fined a whole total of $500. A lot of people would be in jail for years for that. I have a strong suspicion that it has to do with the fact that the Attorney General for the state of Minnesota is none other than Keith Ellison, the wife-beating Muslim, liberal, progressive, left-wing, socialist, communist, horrible person who should be in jail himself. But no, he's the Attorney General of the state of Minnesota. Doesn't that line up just perfectly for Ilhan Omar? She commits crimes, and the Attorney General of the state would rather kiss her ass than put her in jail. So that's the bottom line there. So anyways, I went on Facebook, and I basically just said that she's a lying crook and a criminal, which is the truth. And believe me, the left has said much worse things on Facebook. And big surprise, they not only blocked that comment, but they suspended me for 3 days. I found that out yesterday. The Facebook is a complete weaponized tool of the liberal left progressives. Mark Zuckerberg, who's Jewish, is not only a traitor to his nation. He's not only anti-American, but he's a traitor to his religion, because anyone who knows anything about the Democrats knows that they support Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, all those Palestinians who could give a shit about America, frankly. They're there to push the Palestinian agenda and try to ruin America at the same time. And that's the crazy lunacy that's going on in this country. It is enough to make you extremely angry. I'm extremely angry. I just can't help it because I care a lot about this country. When I grew up in the 70s in America, it was a completely different country. Even when Nixon committed such horrible crimes as bugging the Democratic office for the election committee for, and you'll have to excuse me right now, it escapes me who the Democratic nominee was in 72, I believe it was, or no, it was later 70, maybe, it was the 72 election, I'm sorry, when he bugged the Democratic election offices, even when he did such a heinous crime, and even tried to use the power of the Department of Justice and the FBI to cover up his crimes, even then, there wasn't this vehement hatred. Yes, there was a sense from the Republicans, from the Democrats, excuse me, of we're not going to let you get away with this. We're not going to let you abuse the powers of the presidential office and the Oval Office to get away with this crime, because when you followed the breadcrumbs of Watergate, they led up to the Oval Office and Nixon, and he was stupid enough to tape all his conversations. So once the tapes were subpoenaed, he was up shit creek without a paddle. But even then, the Democrats, they held him up for the crimes that he committed, and they did impeach him. But there still wasn't this absolute hatred like they show for Trump. There wasn't. They didn't spread lies about him. They didn't try to attack members of his family and his cabinet when they were out in public. They didn't smear his name. They just held him. They held him up for the crimes he committed. They weren't going to let him get away with those, and it cost him his job. But there still was. It was different. And this country was completely different. And it's only been in the last 20 years that we've seen this shift slowly start to come where the Democrats are like basically losing their minds. And now they've lost their minds. They've completely lost their minds. This is America. This is, some people call it things other than a democracy, but this is a democracy. Some people call it a democratic republic or something like that. But that wasn't my major in college. I was a military history major. But in any event, America runs itself on the basis of a democracy where the people vote in who we want to speak for us in Washington. And that's supposed to be the principle that we vote in the people that we want to have speak for us in Washington, who we vote in the people we want to have bring our ideas and our feelings and our concepts to Washington, and they're supposed to be there to represent us. But somehow the Democrats nowadays think that getting elected means that they can now be above all the other people, be above the regular people. They think they can break the law. They think they can get away with pushing people around, with breaking rules, with committing all kinds of crimes, without being, held up for those crimes. And part of it is problem. Part of the problem is that a lot of the Republicans don't have the guts, don't have the balls to see the fight through, to hold them up for the Democrats up for what they've done. They let them get away with stuff, and it's wrong. And I don't want the Democrats to ever again have the majority in the Congress or the Senate. Having said that, there are some Republicans who I would like to see replaced with better, more Republicans with more moral compass, with balls, should I say. We used to have that with people like Trey Gowdy. We did see that with Jim Jordan yesterday in the Mueller hearings. And how about those? Robert Mueller gets up there for 2 days and testifies and basically says jack shit, says nothing, says he can't answer that, he can't answer that, he can't answer that. The man that was the tool for Obama's lie, this huge lie to try to make Trump look bad, and he sat in there for 2 days and basically said jack shit. So you can take that for what it is. The guy's, I know that he served his country in Vietnam. I know he was the head of the FBI. But basically, in my opinion, his whole life just got him ready to head the biggest farce investigation the biggest blackout of the truth this country has ever seen, including Watergate, including other horrible crimes that have taken place in Washington, even worse than Clinton Lewinsky thing in the Oval Office. What Mueller did, going around spending millions of dollars of taxpayers' money in 2 years of time, acting like he was king shit and that he was going to get to the bottom of this, and basically insinuating and hinting that Trump was guilty of collusion with the Russians when Trump was not guilty of any kind of collusion with the Russians. He never did anything with the Russians. In fact, the bottom line is Trump was the one that colluded with the Russians on Barack Obama's behalf, and they put Mueller in charge of whitewashing the whole thing and turning it into a mess, and they were hoping that Mueller was going to make Americans think that Trump had done something wrong when he did nothing wrong. It was their plan before he got elected, so that if he did get elected, they thought that was going to be their insurance ticket to get him out of office, and it's all fallen apart, and it's all not working, and thank you for that. Thank you for small miracles. What else can I say? Like I started to say before, I think you should all, if you haven't subscribed to the Epoch Times, EPOCH, they're the only truthful newspaper in America anymore. You can get it digitally, or you can get it the old-fashioned way. I do both, and I enjoy sitting, drinking a cup of coffee and reading the Epoch Times. And some of the things that I've read lately in the Epoch Times, like I started to say a little earlier, is there was one story that basically the Democratic Party has fractured so bad that the Democratic Socialists are gaining control of the Democratic Party. It's completely fractured. And a major piece of this fracturing is led by the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America. And they're working in conjunction with the Communist Party USA and the Freedom Road Socialist Organization, which are both, by the way, pro-Chinese. And they're taking over the Democratic Party. And Nancy Pelosi is not strong enough to keep the party together, one mind, one direction. It's fractured into a million different directions, and most of them are all worse than the last. They're all horrible. They're all led by people like AOC and her Green New Deal. Gee, that's a great deal. Let's have no more flights. Let's have no more cars. Let's not drive anywhere anymore, or let's not take airplanes anywhere anymore. Those are just two of the more stupid ideas in the Green New Deal. Basically, it's been said that her Green New Deal would basically ruin civilization as we know it. So there you go with that. Basically, California's still going down the toilet. What's pretty amazing is that last Monday, a group called the Founders of New California took an early step towards statehood by declaring the state as ungovernable. And their plan is to leave the coastal urban areas to themselves, and they want to take over most of rural California, including San Diego, which isn't rural, but it's the biggest city that was included in the map of what they call New California. And they claim the authority of this in Article 4, Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution. Now, in 2014, a venture capitalist tried splitting the state into 6 parts, and it didn't work. It didn't make it onto the ballot. But this time it's different. It's things have changed quite a bit since 2014, and they're just trying to do what like Virginia did with West Virginia, and split it into 2 pieces. So there's a lot going on. I just looked at my time, and I'm already running out of time. So I'm going to do an episode 6 real soon, coming up real soon, so that we can continue where we're leaving off. Time is running out. I still wanted to get into how the California legislators are trying to have Trump's name banned from the 2020 ballot, if you can believe that. That's a whole nother topic, as well as some other topics. But please keep supporting my podcast. Please keep coming back. I will get episode 6 out there real soon and get some more facts and some more figures and some more things with you. But I had these things I just needed to get off my chest today. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please remember 2020 is coming up next year. Tell everyone, vote Republican, vote red. God bless America, and let's keep fighting the good fight. I love you. Bye-bye.